Good morning. It's Monday Motivational Live here, both on the Step by Step Listening page on page on Facebook and also on YouTube. So please, if you're with me today, please give me a like, a comment, so I can find out what's happening in your world today. Today's subject is about letting go and moving on. For those that don't know me, and while we're just waiting for viewers to come on board, I'm Cheryl Andrews, also known as the Listening Detective, and I'm all about helping you understand that the way that you listen will determine what kind of clarity that you have, how much confidence you have in yourself, and your ability to create the change that you want in your life. And after 30 years of motivating people, I've been always fascinated about the difference between people who say they do what they say they're going to do and those who don't. And I absolutely love asking you questions that help you dig deeper into getting clarity and confidence in yourself that you can create the change that you want. And one of the things about change is that when we're going to have something new, it often requires letting go of something old. And so people, even in the book I'm writing now, Do, Delegate or Ditch, we talk about ditching stuff, letting go of stuff. And some people, me included, can find it quite difficult to let go. Because it's partly because the brain is hardwired to hold on to that's familiar, because the brain likes to know what's predictable. So the things that are familiar to us, the things that we know, we want to keep hold of those because they provide our system with some stability. It provides it with what's dependable, and it's things that we can trust. And so when we change things, we often let go of some of the dependable and the trusting things that go on. And I was struggling myself at the weekend. I was working over the last sort of 3 days with my mastermind group, GTEx. And one of my peer learners was helping me with putting together my offer and my launch. And I was feeling a bit stuck. And he asked an amazing question, which was, do you have a process for letting go? Good morning, Belinda. Lovely to have you here. So we're just talking about letting go and moving on. And I was asked this question on the weekend about letting go and moving on. And I was thinking, well, the first thing I'd say to all of my clients is that what tends to happen is that when we want to, the fact that you may be on this video now, not Belinda because you know me, maybe you're just being lovely because you've seen me, but if you're searching for how to let go and move on, what many people do is go and listen to lots of other people, okay? But what they don't always do is listen to their own process. So just if you're on this video wanting to know how to let go and move on, then the first thing to do is to get clarity. Step one, letting go and moving on, and you might do them separately. So it might be letting go and then moving on, might be two separate things. So if you're letting go and moving on, that's like what? Because at this point, I will tell you my process, but at this point you have a process because you've let go of something. Even if you've opened a sweet wrapper and you've eaten the sweet and you've got rid of the wrapper, you've let go of that and you've moved on. You haven't worried about the fact that you've put this wrapper in the bin, unless you're like me at the moment, worrying about the eco-environment and whether or not it's environmentally friendly. But generally speaking, maybe that wasn't the best metaphor, but you won't be worrying about it. So if you think of a time right now when you've let go, and the starting point is clarity of letting go and moving on is like what? Now, this is where people get stuck, is if they can't think of a time when they have done it. And what I would say to you is just keep narrowing it down into something that's really simple. Maybe right now you're having to let go of a marriage or let go of a business idea or let go of a house. And they're quite big things to let go of. So in order to get clear on your process, how do you do letting go and moving on? Think of something that was much easier or simpler, like letting go of a favorite pair of shoes, and there will be a process that you go through. Okay, so the first thing is to get clarity. If letting go and moving on was just the way you'd like it to be, it'd be like what? Or so you can do it future, sort of dream world, if it was just the way you'd like it to be, or you can do it as it is right now. It's like what? And usually, if I say to people, like, focus on it, letting go and moving on is just the way you'd like it to be, it'd be like what? Once they've got clarity of the process, they go, oh, I know how to do that. I can do that. And then they just go and do it. And then nothing else is required. But for some people, there's a gap between how it is for them right now and how they'd like it to be. Okay. And so that's when we move into the confidence process section, where we start to look at the process. So what is the series of actions or the series of activities that need to happen between your kind of letting go that you've got now and moving on, and the kind of letting go and moving on that you'd like to have? And if you've never, you really genuinely can't. I mean, maybe in this example, you have got an example, but if you haven't, let's say you were trying to be assertive or more confident or whatever the thing was. When we look at the confidence process, you've got two things. You'll either map out a simple process that you've done before, and then you'll get an idea of how you do that thing, or you'll have confidence in your ability to learn new processes. Now, what everybody seems to do, and me included, is go and try and learn somebody else's process, go and get someone else to teach you it before you know your own. And then what happens if you get to know your own first before you go and learn it from other people, then what happens is when you're listening to bits that other people say that how their process works, you can go, oh, that's a bit similar to mine, or that bit's different. And then you can cherry pick the bits you want to try on to update and improve your existing model, which is so much faster and so much more effective than going off to learn somebody else's letting go process. And then finding yourself having to sort of like your brain's in overwhelm because you're trying to learn something completely new and nothing seems familiar. So always get clarity if it was just the way you'd like it to be. Get confidence in the process from one to other. And then when you're listening to other people, you're going to be selective what feedback you listen to. Now, what can happen is we get really narrow and go, this works for me and I'm not doing anything different. And sometimes we miss the opportunity to update or improve our process. And other times we're just listening to everybody that we lose confidence and we don't even know that we have a process in our first place. So that's the subject for today. So I want you to think about, and please answer below, letting go and moving on for you is like what? When I was asked if I had a process for letting go, what I realized is that the first of all, there's a feeling of stuckness, and I realized that something has to change. So therefore, if I've got clarity of what I want and I've got confidence in myself, if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, there's a really good chance that I have got to let go of something. That was my awareness. I need to ditch something. And what I realized is the only way that I can let go of stuff is I have to sort of almost bundle up the thing that I'm going to let go of. And I need to look at that thing. So whether it's throwing away a pair of shoes, or whether it's getting rid of a strap line in the business, or whether it's, you know, laying off a member of staff, or stop working with somebody, or whatever the thing I'm letting go of, I have to get that thing and spend some time and just acknowledge and accept and really appreciate what works about that thing that I'm letting go of. Because I cannot let it go until I know I've learned the lesson, until I fully appreciated it. If I and I know that I'm going to remember it. That was one thing I realized I didn't need to do. So I had to fully appreciate it. Then I often needed to have an honest and helpful conversation with somebody to talk about, to reassure me, because I know that in between that letting go and the new thing coming in, there's going to be a space of stillness or emptiness. And for me, what I realized is I'm not very good, or wasn't very good, at being in that space where I didn't know what I'm doing or what I've got to do next or whatever. And so my process is accepting and appreciate what's there. And then it's literally a case of letting that go and being in that still space and trusting that the letting go has now created space for new stuff to come in and new information. And I did this at the weekend, and it's always, I hadn't realized I had this process. And by talking about it on Saturday, something happened on Sunday where I let go of something I've been holding on to for decades. And yet I've been working on it as a coach for a long time, about being okay being myself in a group and being me. And people often say to me, be yourself. But the kind of self that I seem to show up with, people often say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know who to be then. If you say to me, be myself, and then tell me myself is not okay, it's like, how, I don't know which version of myself you think I need to be today. And so I would get stuck in this thing. So I realized that I was constantly caught between this, what do they need and what do I need? And when I just recognize that as a person, I'm a really lovely person and I care about what people think. And so if I stop worrying about what they need from me and I just be the best version of me, I let go of trying to guess what they need from me and ask them what they, what do they want, or changing to be for them. I become the best version of me. Because actually when I'm worrying about what they need and trying to be all these other things and keep changing, I actually end up quite resentful and narky because people don't seem to appreciate me as I am. And so that's quite a big learning curve for me this week. So I just want to check in with you guys. I just think we've got Belinda and Jolene with us. Awareness of where I am in the process and how it has served me. Then I need to ask, is this something of value to me? What kind of value is that? And is that this of value to me in this moment of time? It's a really good observation. And this is why I love when we do this kind of work in a group. So you can watch this video and you can answer the questions yourself. But when you work with a coach, because I'm a human being and things you say will resonate with patterns I've heard with lots of different clients, what I ask you questions of next will take your thinking maybe to a different place where you would have taken yourself. And when you work in a group and we all look at this like letting go and moving on as a common thing that we decided to explore, people bring to it a different thing. And I will say this, letting go, one of the things about letting go and moving on is it sometimes takes time. I think everybody at the moment is everything's being bought based on instant results and want to know quickly. Now there are some things that I can do with clients that can make them instantly confident that things will change. You can get instant confidence it's going to change, but the letting go, maybe there may be layers and layers and layers and layers of information. There may be layers and layers of value in this thing. And it might take you some time to be able to compartmentalize and hold on to it and be sure that you've got the nuggets and everything that you love about this thing before you let it go, or before you transform it or change it in some way. So I hope today's video has been of use to you. So have a think about yourself. But the other thing is thinking about when you don't let go, when you're holding on, that's like what's the impact and what's the consequences? Because when people are holding on really tight to something, in my experience, when we pay attention to ourselves, the holding on, if it's a good thing, it's like excitement, it's like you're enjoying the ride, it's great. But if we're holding on from a place of fear of failing, or fear of rejection, or fear of any other kind of feedback, if we let go of this thing, we tend to hold on very tightly. And then when we're holding on tightly, we're not really open to the new information that could come in, or the new learning, or the curiosity and stuff that's around us all the time. And so we kind of shut ourselves down and we end up in this protected state. And so it's being aware of the fact that so another way of doing how you let go is you could think about the opposite. So when when holding on is at its worst, that's like what? And when letting go is its best, that's like what? That'd be another way of looking at the process, because there are times when holding on, it really serves us, and sometimes when it doesn't. And again, there's some things I've let go of really quickly without doing this review of it and really valuing it and really appreciating it. So it's important that you review it and you look at what works about it, what doesn't work about it, and what could work better. So let's recap again then. Letting go, moving on, it starts with clarity. So clarity of what's happening right now, and clarity of what would be happening if it was just the way you'd like it to be. Second step is you get confidence in yourself and your process. And then you listen to other people and find out what works for them so that you can change or update your own model. That's the order I would do it. Now, what most people do is they go and listen to other people to try and change their model, but they don't really have clarity and confidence in their own process in the first place. And they don't know themselves well enough. And so often when they hear this, it can trigger overwhelm and frustration because it doesn't resonate with who they are and what they do. So my process is get clarity of what it'd be like if you just the way you'd like it to be and what's happening right now. And then think about the series of events that would happen in between. So, Jolene has just put, the time is part of the process. 9 years ago this month, my nan passed away. The gripping of holding on is physically in hands. It's seeing my hands as a baby as a natural reflex. Yeah. And so what you've brought up there, and by sharing your experience, Gillian, for what happens to me is that there's grief. That the part of letting go is, whether it's an actual grief, you know, with a member of our family passing away, but there's loss that's involved. And so what you've reminded me of is that I've got really good at understanding how I deal with loss and letting go of stuff. Because if you don't know your own change process, you don't know how you deal with loss, then a new loss can trigger an old one that hasn't been healed. It hasn't been resolved. And one of the things that for me in this accepting and valuing it is, one of the things I've realized is that when people leave this physical world, they never really leave me, because if I've learned the lesson, as long as I take the essence of that person and I hold on to everything they taught me, then they live on, and that their legacy lives within me. And so I've never really, I mean, I've lost their physical touch, and I've lost their smell, and I've lost their smile, and that is, there's an acceptance and an appreciation that, but even then, as I say that out loud, if I pay attention to that's what I've lost, then I proactively think about that everybody who's in my life right now who smiles or smells great or gives me a hug, I'm going to fully appreciate them right now and really value it. So that person, that's their gift for me right now in this moment. So the more I pay attention to what it is that I'm losing, I can hold on to the lessons that person teaches me and bring that into the full right here, right now. And the same with good shoes or pieces of furniture. You know, there's things that I've found difficult over the years to let go of, but it's like, okay, what is it about this piece of furniture that, what am I holding on to, and how can I keep the essence of that in the next piece of furniture? What is it I need to bring forward with me? And I talk a bit more about that in the book, Manage Your Critic from Overwhelmed to Clarity. I talk about you, your why, and your story. It is about making sure that you learn the lessons of these losses or the things you're letting go of, and then you're freer to move forward. Belinda's put thank you. Okay, if you let me know if there's any particular kind of thank you. It is only meant to be a 15-minute video on Mondays. I'm going to love you and leave you all today. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel, and be aware of the next ones that come out. It's usually 9 o'clock on a Monday. It will be 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. So sorry, I need to leave you now. Get ready. We'll watch later. No problem. I'm just wrapping up myself, Belinda. So thank you for joining us today. But we are going to be here consistently at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, both on Facebook Live and also in YouTube. So if you want to get motivational tips, please join me. Please subscribe, love, like, and share if you found this video useful. But more importantly, tell me what you're lacking motivation to do. What are you stuck with? What you're challenging with? And then we can bring this to future videos, and I can share my process, but also share the questions to help you tap into your own process. And if you'd like to know more, obviously don't forget, we've got the next Make It Happen Motivator starting on the 29th of June. Comment below if you'd like to know details. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.